something that could also help as well. Because there has actually been situations where VAR should have been actually used or called in, and the managers wanted it and the fans, but the referee said no, or VAR said no, and didn't even check on it.
To tell the truth, guys, I believe VAR is a good tool, but at the moment it's being misused. You can say that.
Yes.
VAR should be objective, but we have turned VAR into a subjective tool. You understand? So we'll use it when it's, it's so, to tell the truth, right? It looks so rigged when they do things like that. So it's good that they are going to come up with that semi-automated offside thing, right? At least that will take away that human error or human decision on whether VAR, when there's an offside or there's not an offside. But the sad part is that when us fans, right, can see something which is so obvious, but VAR not taking that decision, that brings a lot of questions into the minds of the fans. Why are you doing that? So for me, VAR at the moment is not the problem, because don't forget, VAR in the end is a tool, right? It's the people who are using the tool and how they want to interpret using that tool. So for me at this moment in time, VAR should still be there, but the sad part is right. I'm sorry to say, like Wolf FI is in the chats, right? It's actually their team that actually lodged that official complaint against VAR, and now they have to take it to the next level where it has to be put to a vote by the stakeholders of the Premier League, right? But of course, what Mahri was saying, right, is being opposed by a lot of the. I'm not saying it's being opposed by the clubs, but I think the board of the Premier League is not going to be supporting it that much, because they feel, based on the stats and all that, we've seen it, right? A VAR has been 96% more or less correct. So
yeah,
I understand the part when the decisions are slow and the fans are waiting. But guys, to tell the truth, right, this is the evolution of football, guys. We will have to live with it, right? But the powers maybe will have to get it right. That's all I have to say. And they will have to get the people to be trained to make the decisions properly and to make it as quickly as possible. That's all I can say. Yeah.
And John Robert Big Up says that I'm sick of stoppages. It's a disgrace. The game is so slow now. I would agree. I would agree, because, like I said, VAR gets it right more than often than wrong. But it kills it for me in the sense of, growing up, you watch a game and you see a big goal, like, yeah, you're celebrating, but then but you have to pause, you have to stop, because it's like you don't know. Yeah, you don't know if the goal is good or whatsoever. I mean, even watching the game on Tuesday, City Spurs, they score a goal. Haaland scores a goal, and it's almost like, wait, is it offsides? Is it is it good if it's not? And
this is what people want, though, because this is what people have asked for so long, in a way. When it works in your favor, you absolutely love it. When it obviously goes against you, you absolutely despise it. That's just the same as anything in life. When it works for you, yeah, it's all good. When it works against you, it's all bad. But I agree with what Yuji said here as well. It's a tool, and a tool can only be as good as the person who uses it. It's the people that we have to use it. They just don't seem like they're trained for it. They don't seem like they're qualified for it. And they don't seem like they've got the skills to use it. You look at you look at Serie A and how they use this. It takes a couple of seconds, bang, 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 job done. Premiership, you're sitting there for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, and they're still scratching their heads.
Yeah,
but Serie A, this gets sorted double quick.
Then you watch a lot of Italian football, right? If I'm not mistaken.
This year, not so much, but in general, yeah, I do. I followed all this year.
I watch football,
especially. So a lot of us who watch a lot of other leagues, right? and we are sitting there watching. How can the other leagues, right, get VAR so smoothly and get it correctly, while the EPL, right, is like, what's all this bullshit?
The biggest league in the world. We're meant to be the biggest, and again, he's going to have to stay there because of the money. But Eugene, you're 100% right.
I've got this theory behind VAR, right? I've been saying the whole season since VAR started, right? Our VAR system, right, it's not objective, it's subjective, you know. So when it's subjective, right, that means there's a narrative behind everything.
Yeah, it's the people who use it. You can see on it when the videos are on them and that you see it now and again that they're almost sweating while they're doing it. These same decisions, these same problems every time and time again. Serie A, Bundesliga, and everything else you see it in, and La Liga, I can't really vouch for as I don't watch it. But it's it's the people who do it, and in Serie A, this crap gets sorted out in a matter of moments. Whereas Premiership, it just seems to take significantly longer.
Yeah. Now I think the Premiership they have to call someone before they can make the decision. You see, so it is what it is.
Yeah. So I want to get to the next topic, but before I get to the next and our last topic of the day, we had one of the comments I starred. Big up Giant Robert. If this is true, because I haven't had a chance to check it. Breaking news: Thomas Tuchel will be staying at Bayern Munich. I guess that Champions League run, semifinal run, saved his job. Wow, did not see that coming.
Yeah, I think I heard that rumor too. But the thing is that all this while Tuchel has said that he doesn't want to stay, right? But you know, it was supposed to be a confirmed source, and then all of a sudden now it's turned into a rumor. So I'm not sure, right? But do the Bayern Munich fans really want Tuchel to stay and play the kind of football? Because Tuchel doesn't play Bayern style of football, to tell the truth, right? So I don't know what to say there. So it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's a weird thing.
So the last topic I want to get, I'm glad Dan is here because we've been talking about this, and I'm glad Eugene's here. Last topic of the day we're going to go is Ange is not happy. I wish I could put the quote from The Athletic on the screen, but I can't. So bear with me. I will read it. But this was a couple of hours ago. It says that Ange wants to completely change the culture of the group at Tottenham Hotspur, which includes both the staff and the players. Most aggravating of all to Postecoglou was the sense that a few club staff members, many who are Spurs fans, have been relaxed about the possibility of losing against Manchester City because of the title race context. Whilst the majority of the club staff had been focusing on their work as normal, the prospect of losing to Manchester City have been the theme of jokes among a minority of the staff for the past week. When one member of the support staff joked to Postecoglou that he should play the youth team against City, the manager was furious. Postecoglou's mood had deteriorated in the recent weeks, given the bad results. But this dynamic lit the fuse in him. The whole notion of being happy to lose a game had shocked him. One witness of the spat between Postecoglou and a fan, which has circulated around social media today, is that it came about because of the suggestion from the supporter that Postecoglou was more passionate about the prospect of beating Man City than any other opponents that Spurs had faced, a comment that would understandably upset the manager. The fan was ultimately ejected from the stadium. Thank you for bearing with me reading all that. But as you guys know, Ange has blamed the fans. He's blamed inside and outside the
and
club.
Everywhere. How is going to blame everywhere?
I would say officially, welcome to Spurs.
Yeah, that's it. Congratulations. We've got our Tottenham back.
Mahri.
Welcome to Spurs. Right. But I agree with with the point of you got to. I know you're frustrated. I know Spurs have broken you, but you are part to blame. You are part to blame.
Mahri, I've got to walk in
there.
so let me give this point to this one. This won't go down with a few people too well. Ange Postecoglou, who the do you think you are? Really? What are you? Mate, if I'm going to be straight, you're just another number at Spurs here and now at this moment. You're just another manager of one of the hundreds, how many we've been through that just... You're just a number at this minute until you make your name at this club and actually do something at the club. If you get the support, whatever else, he's just another number, nothing more, nothing less. Who the hell does he think he is to turn around and start on the fans and start blaming the fans when he's definitely part to blame for the situation that we're in and many others? It's not fully his fault, but the fan behind should have just been told, like, shut up, mate, I don't want to hear that. Yeah. But he goes and gets a fan evicted from the place because he's saying something that wasn't abusive, nothing of the sort, and something like that. If he wants to turn on the fans now, he's a very stupid man, because it's definitely going to go tits up all the way. At the end of it, he's at blame for some of the situation we were in. He's partly to blame for the reason we're not in the Champions League. If he'd have pulled his finger out against Fulham, against Newcastle, maybe against Chelsea, we'd have been 2 points clear in 4th place.
Yeah.
So who the hell does he think he is to then turn on the fans? If he'd have turned around and said, do you know what? You fans out there, and especially at the start of the season, preaching about let the fans dream, let the fans think what they want to do, let the fans be who they want to be, because it was in his favour. Yeah. Now all of a sudden he don't like it. Well, mate, it happens. Deal with it.
I mean, a month ago, he was saying, oh, we're going to challenge for the league next season. And then Asava says it. He flip-flops and says, oh, no, we need players. We don't have the players. I'm like,
this is where he's bitten off more than he can chew to an extent. And I think he's actually learning now that, maybe I've started going about this the wrong way. I need to adapt to a different way, not just on the football, but off the pitch. And hopefully this is his way of changing things. I think things have just got to him at the moment, and he's finally snapped and realised he's up shit street, basically.
I've got this controversial theory here, right? This guy who said that to Ange, right, could have been told by Levy, right, to tell him to say that to Ange. So behind all this, right, it's Levy's fault again. I'm going to blame Levy for everything, I'm Levy out. But guys, to tell the truth, right, Ange stepped into a shithole, right, which more or less, the 2 biggest managers in the world has stepped into. So I'm sure he knows what he stepped into. But at this moment, if he turns around, he starts using the fans as the scapegoat for him to either walk or quit or do something that, because to tell the truth, a lot of fans, no matter what he has done, we have stood behind him, right? We have said that we will give him time, right? Even though I've said, right, even though I'm not Ange out while going through that 4 games of seeing us being demolished, humiliated, smashed up the butt and all that shit that you can think of, right? I've still said, the only thing he made me feel is that, I said it on Tottenham Away with Stel. He made me feel sucky. That's why I said, Ange sucks, But if he does improve and change, right, then we'll be all back on again, because we know deep down inside, right, it's pointless to change another manager and another manager and another manager.
Exactly.
While the biggest culprit here, right, is only one person, and it's behind me, right? So I've been holding this for a long time. So the only
he deserves more time. He deserves more time, doesn't he?
But then now he's used the fans as a scapegoat, and the fans will remember this. You get what I'm saying? The fans will remember.
Eugene,
if we start off slow next season, you better believe this fan base is going to get him out like every other manager out. And who wins in that process? Daniel
Mahri. If he goes 10 games unbeaten again, this will all be forgotten by 90% of the fans. So he's on very thin ice now with what he's done by picking on certain fans. But I think what he did with that one particular fan was pretty disgusting. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, he's a number. Nothing more, nothing less. And until he proves himself as something, that is all he is at Tottenham. Sadly, he should be more. But yeah, the manager, the fella shouting out, throw the game, he should have just turned around and said to him, look, mate, do us a favour, just shut up, will you? Or even said his bit. But you don't need to go and get him kicked out. That was...
Yeah. Dan, I think that is his emotional reaction coming over him. So I guess I understand about that winning mentality and the blah blah blah. And
all right, one quick thing, because I've got to literally go now. Yeah, one quick thing. Yeah, so with what he's done, getting this fella kicked out, which I think is totally wrong, getting him kicked out. Say your piece to him, but it didn't need to get him kicked out. If he then goes live on TV, radio, whatever else, and says to this fan, do you know what? I don't like what you were saying to me. I don't agree with it and that. But do you know what, mate? I had the and I shouldn't have got you kicked out of the place. There you go. There's free tickets, mate. We'll call it quits. But don't do that again behind me because I don't like it, yeah? This, for me, would give me a lot of respect for Ange that he could put his hands up and say, do you know what? I took that too far as well. Just an opinion.
Yeah,
but I've got... Anyway, hello, Stel. Goodbye, Stel. Goodbye.
Good morning, Stel.
Go. So I've got to have my shower and get into that bloody osteopath, and I'll be on this afternoon. See you later on. Take care, yeah?
All right, take care, Dan.
See you later. Bye-bye. Big up Stel, who's in the house. Before I give it the throw to Stel, just to answer, big up Brandon. Brandon, the channel was brought. This channel is going to talk about, as you can see, we talked about the EPL possibly scraping VAR. We talked about the Chelsea game and talked about the punch out movement, how ridiculous I think Chelsea fans are. But I agree with United fans after their big win, Ten Hag out. So this channel will have various, as I saw last night, the Rivals show will have various EPL, European League, outside of the European League. I'm going to bring a lot of Copa America content, Euros. So it's basically a football channel. And Sava will appear here and then. You've seen him appear last night on the Rivals show. He's appeared on Tottenham Away. And so one morning, watching the morning pitch, you may see Sava there. So just to answer your question or anybody else that has questions, but Stel, for these last, I guess, 25 minutes, we could talk about Ange not being happy. I read the comment from The Athletic. There's a couple people he want inside the club out because he was so furious about their suggestion about losing on purpose to City. And also, I think he's I know he's more frustrated about other things at the club. As we had to show yesterday on Tottenham Away, Ange is cracking and Levy's to blame. I think it's more on that. Yes, everybody's focusing on him being upset with that fan that suggested for him to lose, but it's bigger than that. I think he's finally snapped, or you start to see him snapping because he's at Tottenham. He knows that these players that he has, he doesn't rate, but he publicly said every player that's come into the club, that's my guy. He's also known that people have criticized his tactics, and he finally made a change. Right, game 37 against City. Right, he finally makes that change. So much more to say on this, but I'm gonna throw it to you, Stel. Ange is not happy. Why?
And Ange is not happy because he's realised that he's joined Tottenham Hotspur and he's having to work under an ownership. Yeah, he's having to work under an ownership that does this under every manager. It's the most divided fan base of any club in England. We argue over everything. Is the grass green? No, I think it's dark green. No, really? You think it's dark green? No, I think it's kind of like a forest green. No, it's just more of a luminous green. We argue over the color of the grass at our club. You know, we are the most deluded, lunatic fan base in England. We agree on nothing. The only one thing we all agree on is we hate Arsenal and Chelsea. It's the only thing we come with. This is one thing. If you say to every Arsenal fan, yeah, we all agree. Yeah, we hate Chelsea, we hate Arsenal. But you ask them about Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, Bissouma, Romero, Porro. Talk about any player, we are in disagreement. Then you talk about transfers. We argue over that. You talk about managers' tactics, substitutions, in-game management. We argue over that. We talk about his. We argue over that. There's nothing. Nothing.
Still, we argue about winning trophies. Imagine even that.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, no, you're right. You're right. If you were to ask fans, what do you want? 25% will say trophies. 25% will say an experience. 25% will say, I want to go on a journey. Another 25% will say, I just want a sustainable, ethical, morally driven ownership. I don't want Man City, right? So we can't agree on what we want. And then when it comes to the style of football, we argue on, some will say, I don't care what the football looks like as long as we win a trophy. Others will say, no, It has to be good football. It has to be the Tottenham way. Then we argue, what is the Tottenham way? What does that mean? There is nothing that we do not argue over. So Ange has now realized he has come to a club that is divided in so many factions. That's what's happened. And he's sitting there and he's thinking, have I got the energy and stamina for this shit? Have I honestly got the mental capacity for this? So if you're a manager, the only solution is, right, I need to tell the board how it works. I've got to tell them, this is my observations, and this is what I'm going to need to do it my way. My way will work. And then the board and the manager become in a situation of disagreement because then they don't agree because the board want to do it one way, the manager wants to do it another way. I was saying to people yesterday, Mahri, we are the 8th highest club in the world for income generation. When it comes to generating revenue, Spurs are number 8 in the world, not Europe, not England, the world. But yeah, Aston Villa, who aren't even in the top 20 income generating clubs, their wage bill is higher than Spurs. How is it Aston Villa are paying more in wages to players than us? And yet we wonder why Villa are 4th. We wonder why their players look a bit better than ours. Well,
yeah,
we would rather sign 4 players that each earn 60, 70 grand a week, for example, than one player that earns the total of those 4 players. Because in our accountants' brains that run the club, if a player earning 250 grand a week doesn't quite perform, doesn't do well, we're stuck with this player, like Ndombele, for example. We're stuck with him on a 5-year contract, paying him £250,000 a week. But if we sign 4 players who are average and 2 of them don't do well, that's fine because the other 2 that we're paying 70 grand to each, well, they're performing, so it's okay. So the way we spread risk and the way we approach risk at Spurs, it's a problem. And that comes from above. And Ange is going to have to deal with that. I also think Ange is, I don't want to say he's out of his depth, but I think that the poor bloke, he really thought he could come to Spurs and do a Celtic and do the work he did in Australia.
Still.
And he doesn't realise he's up against Kevin De Bruyne. He's up against Rodri and Guardiola. He's up against Saka and Gabriel and Declan Rice. He's up against elite top players, right? Here,
managers too.
You're not
Klopp. Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe. You are not. Sorry, Eugene, I'll just finish. You are not in a million years going to compete at the highest level without quality players. And the delusion, the absolute mind-blowing delusion in our fan base that Ange can sign players from Asia and Australasia and from Europe, these names we've not heard of, and they're going to be amazing and we're going to compete with the best. It's freaking delusional, man. It's out.
Sell.
They're out of their minds. But that's the story they've been fed. That's the story they believe. Personally, I think for a first season, except for the Carabao Cup, which I don't forgive Ange for, except for that, I think Ange has done a fairly good job first season. If I was to assess him.
Yeah.
5th place, season 1, scored more goals than last season. Getting to know the club, getting to know the players, getting to understand what he's really signed up to, finishing 5th. I think he's done it. This is a realistic end to the season. Coming 5th, no trophies. That's realistic. I never thought we'd win trophies. I know what it looks like. We're nothing like that. But we should have done better in the Carabao Cup. That's my only criticism of Ange. But otherwise, we're pretty much where we should be. The way we spend, the kind of players we signed, I didn't expect anything. Really.
Yeah, and to tell the truth, right, Stel, I think Ange now realized, right, he's actually stepped into the twilight zone, right? And to tell the truth, I think he knows the quality of the Premier League, right? But I think his biggest hurdle now, he's going to find out, right, that his biggest nemesis is not nobody outside of the club. His biggest nemesis will be one person inside the club, and we all know who that is.
It always comes back to Daniel Levy. It's just whether you want to
know who that is, right? So, and because he's the one pulling the strings, he's the one who wants to be in charge of everything. He is the one who wants to be. But now let's see. He's cracked, right? The cracks are there, right? He snapped. The cracks are there, and now let's see whether he can get over that hurdle and actually grasp that control of, actually being in charge of the football. We've known for ages as Spurs fans, right? None of our managers has been in charge of the football. Because when I say being in charge of the football is, right, being actually in charge of saying which players I want, how I want to do this, and how I want to do that, right? And how things have to be done. But now at this moment in time, when he said that, like I was saying on your show, I mean on Dan's show earlier, right, when you were on yesterday, right? Why has he said that 48 hours he's suddenly realized that, the problem is inside, outside, and everywhere? To tell the truth, right, even before you stepped into Spurs, this job, right, you should have known, right, this is not a simple job, right? Managers like Mourinho, Conte couldn't even get a tune out of our club, right? The history is there. So if you come in now and tell us that you only realize this, while me, you, Mahri, we've been sitting here, we've been talking about it, we've realized, we realized this a long time ago, right? I guess you got to learn quick, bro. If not, and the worst part is you're using the fans now as a scapegoat and taking out your frustrations on the fans. I guess you haven't seen what the Spurs fans can do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've shared my thoughts about Ange, what he said on Tottenham away the other day on the post game show. I just think number one, because his latest interviews, his last couple of weeks, it's almost to the point of saying, "And just shut up, or have your PR manager next to you, feeding you some lines because just some of the things that he have said is just really contradicting what he said weeks prior back, and maybe he is just rambling because he is frustrated. He is, because we're not progressing, we're regressing. I know, we got a result, against Burnley, before the City game, and it looks like we'll get a result in Sheffield. But really, we have regressed since January. Okay, it's year one, but now going into year two, right? What's going to happen in this transfer window? Second thing is just that, for me, I think he's being snappy because he knows that everybody, not only neutrals, but even us as a fan base, we are criticizing his style of play, his who starts, his substitutions, and it took till finally game 37 to see him adapt or make a change. It's just like, okay, why this didn't happen, against Fulham, Newcastle, the Arsenal game, right? The Arsenal game, if we could have had Dragusin in, we got him in because he's good in the air, right? Set pieces, done us in, right? It would have been good to have, once Udoji got hurt, to have BDV, Dragusin, Romero, and Porro, rather than have exposed Ben Davies out there, or Chicken Royale. So it's just, it's,
you know what, Murray? See this. When you work with younger players and you want to develop a team, it normally takes anything from 2 to 4 years to evolve a team to where you can say, right, they're playing good football. This is a good team, and they win games. Right? It takes about 2 to 4 years, realistically, probably more closer to 4 years than 2. When you're at this level, you should see progress within 2 to 3 years. Okay, and that progress, big up James, that progress is quicker than youth football because you're buying in talent. Whereas with young players, you're developing the talent. You're having to educate, coach, progress them, allow them to make a lot of mistakes. But when you're at the pro game, the progression should be quicker because you're buying in the talent that can do the job you want, and the development isn't as hard. So when you look at Ange, if we're being honest about it, we've got a good defense, but wing backs that don't really defend great. Okay, I don't think Udogie and Porro are great defenders. I don't. Okay. Then you look at the two centre backs and the goalie. I think are all perfectly fine. You look at the midfield; it's not good enough. We haven't got one midfielder that controls a game of football, that bosses a game of football the way Dembele used to do. We don't have anyone that can consistently break up the play and the opposition is scared of, like Wanyama used to do. We don't have that. Then you look at the attacking part of the pitch. Maddison is so inconsistent. Gio Lo Celso has been mugged off. We don't have an Ericsson. We don't have a Dele Alli. So I look at the entire midfield. I'm like, that's nowhere near the level. Then when you look at the attacking three, it's awful. I've been saying, I went on We Are Tottenham TV in January and I said, Brennan Johnson is a waste of money. They clicked the video. All the comments, hate and abuse against me. I then went on there and I said, same channel, I said to them, if we sign Timo Werner, I'm Ange out. Because that says to me, the ambition is finished. Abuse, hate, blah, blah, blah. Now we come into the season, people are saying they don't want Timo. People are questioning Brennan Johnson. I said this 4 or 5 months ago, right? Our entire attacking lineup is shit. Kudu's inconsistent. Solomon, he's just a freebie. He's only here because he's cheap. He's not going to be great. And the other one, who's the other one? There's one more I'm missing. I'm missing one more. Richarlison, come on. When your skill is shithousery, that's not even a talent. That means you're not good at football, so you shithouse things, right? The attacking lineup is dead. So we are nowhere near where we want to see as fans because the players aren't good enough. This is what a lot of us have been saying. The quality is not there. However, and this is where Ange needs to take some blame. He does. You allowed Brennan Johnson to come in. You allowed Werner to come in. You've allowed some of these players to come in. And that is on you, mate. It is. Whether we like it or not, you've got the power to say no. If you sign him, I'm gone. Back me or sack me. That should be the approach of any manager that comes to Spurs. If when you come to Spurs and you see what happened to Redknapp, Poch, Nuno, Conte, all the managers before you, you should come in with the approach, back me or sack me, because I've seen what's happened to them. I'm not stupid. So if he's going to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, Brennan Johnson, I know it's not my signing, but yeah, Werner, not my signing, yeah. What? Solomon, free? Yeah, okay, yeah. Then that's on you, because the fans will blame you in the end. Like, maybe some of us here who know better, we know what our club's like. We're like, hold on a minute, this is Levy again. Most fans aren't like that. Most fans you speak to, they will blame the manager. I promise you, I go to the stadium every week. They will blame the manager. And that's the one thing Ange has got wrong for me so far, it's the signings we've made. I'm not feeling it. I'm not. And this was maybe a guy that's an expert with the Asian market, the Australian market. He can unearth a gem. I think he's realized he can't do that shit here. I think he's realized, you know what? I need top players. I need Van der Ven's, £50 million centre backs. I need Romero's, £50 million centre backs. I need Hyun-Min Sung's, 70, 80 million pound forwards. I need talent. But is that what he agreed to when he came? I don't think he did. I think he came on the basis that he can do it the Levy way. He can do it the Tottenham way, where we spend £200 million, sign 10 players, and you've got to make it work. Not here's 200 million, sign 3 top players. And I think now he's taking it out on us. He's taking it out on the media. He's taking it out maybe on himself, maybe on people he works with. But I don't blame him, man. Part of me feels sorry for the bloke because he's such a good guy. I genuinely feel sorry for Andrew, but that's not how he's going to be judged. So,
yeah. We got James Flower in the house. Have your say.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to Stealth, to be honest. But I do think people pick and choose what brush or hammer they want to whack Ange with, i.e., like the Brennan Johnson thing. They're like, oh, yeah, you agreed to it. But he also come out and said he should never be playing this amount of games. So is that him saying, I want to sign him? Or is that saying, look, we've got this last day of the transfer window. Harry Kane's gone. We've only got Brennan Johnson. He's probably gone, well, shit, you put me in a position here. I have to take him. That doesn't mean that he's gone out and picked him. And I believe it's the same with Timo Werner. They've probably gone to him and said, look, we can't get this guy till January, the famous Tottenham trick. All we can get is Timo Werner. What do you think? Son's injured. Solomon's injured. And he's probably gone, no one else? They said, no. He's gone, all right, well, I have to take him then. What else do I have? But I think there's certain things that people could like to sort of like criticize. And I'm to blame as well. I wanted us to lose. But how can somebody change the philosophy and the aura of a club when these fans are saying we want to lose, when he wants to win? I think that we kind of need to accept. I don't know. I think it's. I said earlier, I think it's a lose-lose for Ange. People were saying he didn't change his formation. He changed his formation. Now, well, why didn't you do that sooner? Why this? Why that? It's like the guy's played every midfielder in every position, barring Lo Celso, who I think should start. He's rotated the front three every way possible. The only thing he hasn't really rotated is the defence. So I think the guy's onto a hiding for nothing because now Spurs fans are calling him out.
James, you say fans pick and choose what they hear. See, Ange has kind of done that as well, though. You see,
agreed. Yeah,
he said to us after the 10 games. Fans were saying, "Oh, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. Ange is the best manager. Oh, we've got a manager that all the rest wanted. Blah blah blah." And then the media was saying, "Really? Do you think you can win the league?" And some fans started arguing, saying, "Shut up! Don't say that. We're nowhere near winning the league." And then Ange came out and he said to the fans and the media, "Let fans be fans. Let them feel what they want. Let fans feel. If they believe they can win the league, let them believe. If they feel they can feel, let them." Right. Well, now we feel that we don't want to give Arsenal the league, and some of us feel like we should throw a game. He's attacking us, but it's like, well, hold on. You said let fans be fans. You said let fans feel what they feel. And some of us in this moment, because of the games leading up to this, lose, which put us in this situation, we kind of feel we don't want to win this game, mate. If you'd beaten Arsenal,
I agree.
If you changed your tactics against Arsenal and we didn't give away those stupid set pieces and didn't play that like that, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So it's kind of like he's done it as well a bit, I think.
No, I agree. And with that scenario, I would almost like it's how I'd like it's like work in a certain way. Like, you're right, this is the way I'm going to work. This is the way to successful. It's for you, this is the way I'm going to coach, or for me, this is the way I'm going to plumb, or I'm going to work with blah blah blah. And then for one day going, actually, we need to change everything because we need to lose. And then click back to the players and say, let's lose this. And then as soon as that game's finished, goes, right, we're winners again now. I don't think there's a win-win. I don't think there's any way he could have won. I think if we would have won, people would have criticised him. If we lose, people would have criticised him. I actually feel a little bit sorry for him because he's becoming a Spurs manager. By that, I mean, he's been levied. No matter what he does, he's going to foul.
He's been levied, yeah. But guys, to tell the truth, right? This MCT thing, right? We have to move on from it, right? To tell the truth, I'm just mind-boggled about it. I mean, we're all fans. We have our own opinions on what we should do, what we shouldn't do, but it's all own opinions, right? But in the end of the day, the game is over. We lost, to tell the truth, right? I mean, even if I wanted us to lose, right? But to tell the truth, I never had that feeling that we had a chance to win after the way that we've been playing. So it's just all the media hype again that brings it all, and this is what divides us all the time. But
Do you know the problem with do you know the problem with Spurs fans?
That's all.
The problem with Spurs fans, if there's too much sentimental involved. No
Yeah.
matter what you do, like for me, Son, I said at the beginning of the season, Son, we need to start looking for his replacement. He's not as good as he used to be. And I actually left group chats because I was getting pelters. And now I wish I didn't leave because I'd sit there just smiling like, yeah, what happened? Son's been the worst player in our squad for the last 10 to 15 games, and I won't be proven otherwise. He's been on the same level as Timo Werner. His touch is awful. His movement is awful. My 10-year-old is stronger than him with his back towards goal. I don't understand. Like, there's so many things, but people won't allow you to say that. You're not allowed to say that because it's Son. But let's be honest, Son was fantastic when he had the best player in the world or best striker in the world next to him. But it's things like Richarlison, it's things like Timo. What a good deal. Yeah, there's so many that people just won't allow. It's like, oh, he's one of our own, or this or that. Sometimes you need to say, you know what, you ain't good enough. Like, I bet that, for example, Pep, at the end of the season, would say, do you know, Jack Grealish, you're out of here. We would never do that. We'd go, you know, we'll keep him for another 5 years and see how we get on. He might change. He might come good.
Yeah, we are called testimonial FC, right? We keep dead wood until they become, I don't know, charcoal.
Invaluable. They become invaluable, and then we get rid of them. We loan them for 2 seasons and get no money back for them.
I know.
I don't think Son was good just because of Kane. Because you remember back in the day.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just sort of using it. No, I'm not saying like he's. No. Son was class for a long time, but now for me, he can't play striker. He hasn't got that natural movement, and he is slowly slowing down. In my opinion, he hasn't been as good as he was.
Yeah, he is. He's not the same player. He's not.
Yeah, Son scores Arsenal.
And what I was saying is we need to look for the replacement now rather than wait till, say, for example, the end of the season, Son says, you know what, I want to leave. And then we go, oh, crap, now we've got no Kane or Son.
No,
Listen to this conversation, right? We need to look for the replacement for Son. We haven't even got the replacement for Kane in.
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah.
James, still, we do this. We do this.
I just say we're going to compete for leagues. Like, he needs to.
Still, we haven't replaced Gareth Bale. Like, let's go be real. We haven't replaced Gareth Bale. That was like 10 years ago.
We haven't replaced Danny Rose, Kyle Walker, right?
I think we've replaced those two. I think we've replaced those two in Kyle Walker and Danny Rose. But it's taken us 10 years to do so. But again, there's too many sentimental. Like, for me, I think Bentancur's fantastic. But if he's not working in Angie's system and Ange doesn't like him, then we need to say, you know what, let's go. Bye-bye. Cash in and look for someone else.
But the sad part is that we never cash in. We never look for someone else. We never have a backup plan.
No. Spot on, Aaron. Big up, Aaron. We talked about VAR. We actually talked about the Liverpool game because the VAR was horrible.
I disagree with that, to be honest. I completely disagree with that. How can you replace Salah? Well, I'd look on the bench and you've got Darwin, Nunes, Gakpo. Yeah, we've got Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson compared to like Harry Kane.
Darwin Nunes aren't that great though, man.
No, but I mean, I'd take them over Brennan Johnson. They're a step or two ahead.
I understand what Aaron's trying to say because, right, we need to look for Son's replacement.
You spend the money.
Because of Timo Werner and Johnson is so horrible. It's like if we got Son, we need to find someone.
Mahri,
We need to get Rafinha in. We need to get a Jimenez in before we can't even think about giving Son because the rest of the place are shit. So, I kind of understand because Liverpool's kind of in that predicament. Like, okay, if we get rid of Salah, right? I mean, Darwin Nunez has been his first season almost like Action Jackson. You know, who's worse than waste?
Wait, but at least Action Jackson, right, has scored 17 goals.
Yeah.
Luis
Diaz needs to be more consistent. It's really Jota is the only one that I feel on Liverpool is going to score goals, but then Jota always gets injured too. So it's just
let's have it right. Okay. Salah was world class in his prime. Okay. Kane, world class. These are elite players. So how do you replace that? Well, that's super difficult because they're top level performers. Like Gareth Bale, James mentioned Bale, elite. How do you replace that? There's only two ways you can do it. One, you go and spend big money on the finished product out there now, right? So Liverpool, go get Mbappe. I know he's not the same level as Mbappe, but his stats are right up there. Go get Ollie Watkins, who's performing most goals, most assists, right? Go and spend big bucks, 100, 150 mil, whatever it costs. Or you need superb scouting. We signed Dimitar Berbatov for how much? We signed
like 16. Was it 16? Or something like that.
Right, there you go. We signed Son for 22 million. We signed players like what's his name? Robbie Keane, players like Teddy Sheringham. They weren't super expensive. Good scouting. That's basically how you do it. We had a lineup of Berbatov, Keane, and Defoe, and that was one of the best front three I've seen Spurs have in maybe 20, 30 years. And do you know what? We replaced them. Son, Kane, we found a way. So you can find a way. You just got to want to do it. The problem with Spurs is we think Werners and Johnsons are the answers, and it's fucking delusional, man. It's absolutely insane. It's Richarlison. Are we out of our minds? Like, I don't. This is where it's gone wrong. We've just lost the plot in terms of the players we sign.
Or the other thing you get, say for example, like Ollie Watkins. You say, "I want Ollie." For me, he's been my number one since the beginning of the season. But then you get people that say, he's not worth that. It's a bit overpriced, or is he that good? And you're like, man, I give up. Well, let's keep signing Timo Werners and see where we get.
Exactly. The players are out there. So whether you've got the ability to scout them, and whether you're prepared to pay the money for the finished
but still,
product.
can I ask a question? Right? Is our scouting team or recruitment team that weak that we bring in players of that kind of caliber? And a lot of players that we bring in, right? And now I've noticed, right, that mental strength isn't there. You know, it's not to say they don't have that mental.
Eugene, it's difficult because we sign a Van der Ven and a Vicario, and you're like, that's fantastic scouting. That's top scouting. But then you sign a Brennan Johnson, you sign a Veliz, and you think, what's happened there?
No, that I blame Levy.
I think it comes down to the criteria. Okay, so for each transfer, ask yourself this: what's the budget in terms of what you're prepared to pay? What's the budget in terms of wages that you're prepared to pay? What's the age profile of the player? What's the nationality of the player? Does it meet a quota that we might have to meet? And what is the experience of the player, right? So there's going to be like a basic criteria, and then depending on the position, because I've done my talent ID badges. Depending on the position, you're looking for particular qualities or traits for the player in that position. What I'm looking for example, a centre back would be very different to a number 10. Positional awareness, movement. Some things might be similar, like body shape when receiving the ball, things like that. But I kind of feel this is what's happened. We've done all right at signing defenders. Adogi, Porro, Romero, Dragusin looked pretty good the other night. Van der Ven, Vicario. So it's like in the defensive phase, do you know what? You can't really knock Spurs for the signings. I think there's a lot of signings there. A lot of clubs around us want. You look, there's not one defender we've signed where I would say I wouldn't have him at Spurs that we've signed. Not one. So in the last kind of 2 years, I think that's some good business, man. Even Vicario.
But it's taken a long time to get that, though, isn't it? A lot of misses before we've had a hit.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm just saying, like the last couple of years, I think we've landed. But wait. My point is, it's not that. My point is, you look at the attacking section. I think we've been a disaster. I think we've been absolutely Richarlison, Veliz, Solomon, Werner, Kulu, even Maddison. Right? I'm sorry. Before Maddison came to Spurs, the 4-year data said the second half of the season, the second batch of 19 games, he's had a massive drop-off every single season for the last 5 years, except for one. His data says the first half of the season, good. Second half,
after he gets injured.
But yet we've still signed him. So you look at all the attacking players, their profile, we've got it disastrously wrong. So what I would say is this. Do we have different scouts for different positions? Do we have scouts for defensive positions? And do we have scouts for attacking positions? Or is it the same scout? Because whoever's doing the scouting, their talent ID for forward attacking players is shit. Or the criteria, the criteria the club's saying you have to work in, it's not working. One of the two is failing us.
Could it be?
Can I ask one more question, right? On this scouting and recruitment thing. Okay, all these things you said, right? The talent, the skills, the blah, 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 right? Does the scouting recruitment team actually go and dig into the background of the players, right? To see their mental strength, how they were brought up. Were they street fighters, or did they come through the elite football schools and they don't have that grit and fight in them? Can we target that and see that in the player? Or do we have to look into their families, their spare time? What do they do? I mean, are they focused on TikTok and Instagram, or they're more focused on football?
It's very, very difficult.
Why not?
Look, so the 5 areas of sport you'd look at when assessing a player is technical, social, psychological, physical, and then tactical. Okay. The most important one is psychological, what you've touched on. When looking at the psychological profile of a player, that's the hardest one to profile. And the reason is you need to delve into their life. Like, how do you do that? How do you delve into someone's life? There's shit you lot will never know about me. I'm not telling you, right? I'm not telling you guys, right? And there's stuff that you guys will never share with us. So how do you delve into that? Because that could be a trigger to my personality and how I behave and things that I do. It's a very, very difficult thing to profile the psychological aspect of a player.
Yeah,
the only way you can do it, the only way I think you can do it is you need to get friendly with the players around him and the managers he's had and say, what's he like? But as a scout, how can you do that? Like, how do you get that kind of access? Like, so if I want to sign, let's say I want to sign Jack Grealish. I want to sign Jack Grealish. Or Eze, fine. I've got to go and speak to his academy coaches that developed him. I've got to speak to the managers he's worked under, the players he's worked with, and say, what's he like when this happens? What's he like when that happens? What's he like when you guys go out? What's he like when you're 2-0 down? And I can watch videos. What's he like in the dressing room? That's a very, very, very difficult thing to get access to and to build a report on. It's not. If you can crack the psychological side of sports, I'm telling you, you're a G. You'll be the best manager. You'll be the best. That's why Fergie was such a fantastic manager. Psychologically, he's probably one of the best we've seen. But
no, that's hard to
scout.
No, that's why I'm saying, right? Sorry to say this, right? I think Spurs, right, in the past 10 years, right, we've been signing a lot of pansies. You understand? It's not mentally weak, apart from the I think when Poch had when he
is Van de Ven mentally weak? Is
no, I'm not saying
that.
I'm not saying all of them. I said a lot of them are not at that level where you're saying like Fergie has that kind of stuff. Or maybe, right, Daniel Levy has screwed up so many people that a lot of people won't give him information to the recruitment teams and all that, because in the end, if you get a good player, right, he won't pay the money, he will haggle you. And to tell the truth, Jack Grealish, right, was going for £8 million 5 years or 6 or 8 years ago, right? And Daniel Levy, because that time Villa was in trouble, they were going into receivership because the owners couldn't stand up. And before the new owners came in and bought them, Daniel Levy wanted to press for £5 million. We could have gotten Jack Grealish for 8.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit in the sense of the players coming in, who are weak mentally. I think it's what I said.
I'm not saying all of them, Mahri. I'm saying
not all of them, but I think it's what I said a couple of weeks ago on Tottenham Away. There's a disease at this club. It starts at the top. Everybody sees the video that's going around the last 2 days from Haters TV of what Jose said, what Conte clearly said. He came in and already, like the disease, he knew the type of club that he was coming into. They don't like winning here. They like making money here at this club. They don't like winning here. That's basically what Conte says. And going back to Ange's press conference, I think that's what he's complaining about. He's like, inside and outside of this club, Like, because yes, he came from the Japanese league and the Australian league and from Scottish league, but in those cultures at Celtic, right, it's a winning culture. Yes, the Scottish league, a league, but it's a winning culture. He's established a winning culture in the A League in Australia. He walks into Celtic. It's heritage. Celtic has won a Champions League, a European Championship, 1967. You walk into the halls of Celtic, you see heritage, European champions, Scottish Premiership champions. So he walks into Tottenham, right, where we barely put history at the stadium, let alone the halls of Hotspur Way. He walks in there, and yes, he's saying everything to make people happy, but now he's finally seeing that, man, this is a loose culture at this club. It starts with Daniel Levy. That's why you see him cracking, about, man, the fans want to lose. And yes, he kind of has to understand the rivalry, with Arsenal. But, in a way, I was 100% harsh on Ange. I'm still harsh on him. But I can understand it because he just left a club where you see winning. You see trophies all around. Where he comes to Spurs, our last trophy was the Carling Cup.
Yeah, but if you
is the longest mark in Europe.
Yeah, but if you take it away from football, so let's look at general people, right? So for example, I went and did a job and I said, right, it's a proper hard day's graft and it's 400, 500 quid for the day. It's proper graft. And then Stel says, look, come to my house. I've got a 3-month job for you. I'm going to pay you 20 times what you're getting paid. I turn up, there's breakfast on the table. He says, go in the sauna, the jacuzzi, the swimming pool, stay here if you want, save your travel to and from work, or go back and start grafting for 400 quid a day. What am I going to do? It's common sense. And that is nothing to do with Ange. In theory, I actually think Ange is trying to change that. I think Ange is trying to say, no, I don't want to lose. I want to win. I want to change this. He's come out and said, Brennan Johnson shouldn't be playing this much. He come out and said, listen, there's players here that you guys like that are going to be sold. So he's trying to do that mentality. But no matter what, if Levy's pulling him down, like he's come out and said, there are certain people inside the club that were saying we should lose. There are certain people inside the club saying that we should win. Half the fans are saying we should lose. Half of them are saying to win. So he's sort of fighting a fire with a hose pipe. He's never going to win. And the players are getting offered luxury on top of luxury when they've just come from, say, for example, if it was Eze. Eze, do you want to stay at Palace? Do you want to go abroad? Or do you want to come to this? Look at our 7-star hotel. Look at this you can have. Look at that you can have.
James, this is why he should embrace the youth more, in my opinion, okay? In
Agreed.
the Spurs Academy, right? In the Spurs Academy, you are not allowed to turn up in a BMW Merc top car until you're over 21. Up to 21, they do not let you rock up in top clobber, big bad boy, cars, none of that. They're like, no, you will be humble. They humble players.
Yeah.
That's why you see Harry Kane. You see the way Harry Kane is. You see the way he winks. Have you noticed they're all pretty humble, very they come across like you don't see them in the media, you don't see them all blinging up on Instagram, all that lot. There's a reason. They've been conditioned by our academy. Our academy kids are taught. This is the one thing I praise Spurs for. Our academy, when it comes to morals, values, and these kinds of things, they've nailed it with values.
100%. My son was at the Tottenham Academy for about 4 years,
really?
And then
how was your boy?
Yeah, he's 11 in next month.
Oh, he went in at what, 7, 8?
He went in at 5, and they moved him to the Epping. Yeah, he went in at 5, and then they moved him to their Epping training facility. Yeah, so he was going there on Monday, Wednesday, and then he was going to the training ground on a Friday. So he was doing 3 days with them, and it was, I think he was with Nick Collins, I think it's Nick something, and he's now involved with the first teams and stuff. I think he was the head of the youth development. But
at that age, the guy that leads it is Gary Broadhurst.
Oh, it might have changed, but yeah, he was Nick something. I'll find out. I got some things, but he was saying, like, every time they got there was one kid. It was our first week. He's like, "How are you doing? Your name's Archie." Blah 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 blah. And then a guy behind him was like, so Archie said, "Have you got your shin pads?" He said, "Yep." He said, "Have you got your top?" Because they weren't allowed to wear anything other than a Spurs shirt or a neutral. They weren't allowed to wear anything else. He was like, "Yep, you've got that." He was like, "Right, let's have a good training session." He was like, "How are you? What's your name?" And then he would speak to him, shake his hand, in they went. And even when they go, because you kind of go into the main training center, then they take them down into the change rooms where the dome is, and you wasn't allowed to go with them. They had to be a player on their own, sort of, or a kid on their own, go down and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
When we left, one of the kids turned up with no shin pads. He said, "Look, mate, you ain't playing this week. I told you this last week. You forgot them again." He said, "That's it. Go home." And the kid was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Go home." And then that was it. They sent him home. But when you arrive and when you leave, it was handshake. How was your day? Thank you for training. It was all sort of regiment, and I loved it.
Yeah.
We now play for Norwich, and they've got no people skills. It's like turning up, okay, just get on, see how you do, then off you go. It's just levels with the way they deal with their kids. But we left because I would say 90% of the training was being done by the youth kids, and it was terrible. That was one of the things that we kind of left for, because it was just kids turning up, and then they were doing crossbar challenge, and our kids were playing football, and it was just a bit mismatched. But I've been told it's changed now, which is good.
They just like, do you know what as well? Like, we talk about culture and mentality and stuff. This game is a one-off, man. Like, honestly, this was such a unique situation where the fans were torn.
Yeah.
The staff, imagine, right? You've been working at Spurs 20, 25 years. All you know is Tottenham. You've seen Ledley King walk through the halls. You've seen Berbatov, Klinsmann, Dembele. You've seen, you probably met Gary Mabbutt's and Steve Perriman's come for nights to do talks about the club. And like, you are Tottenham. Even as a staff member, you are Tottenham. And then the conversation in the tea room and the conversation whilst you're on your computers working is, freaking hell, we best not let Arsenal win the league. And how can you not be drawn into it? How can Ange not kind of see this means something to us? Like, giving them the league is a big deal, man. Like, we've got to live with this shit. You know, you won't be Spurs manager in 2-3 years' time. We're still here taking the pelters. You'll be on the beach in Greece with your wife enjoying life. We're here taking hits from Arsenal fans. So
yeah,
I think this was a one-off situation that tore everyone apart. And the media knew it. They jumped on it. They poked the bear, and they fucking blew it up because it gets all the likes and views and people buying their papers and watching their YouTube videos. The media knew exactly what they were doing with this, man. They knew it.
But everything Ange said, we all, I think most people agreed with. There's problems in the club. There's problems outside the club. The media, as soon as they find a little fault, they home on it. The fans, I mean, Ange can't win. He can't win because half of the fans, like you said, are Ange in already. Oh, mate, there was Ange out people 4 or 5 months ago. Like, you can't win. The biggest thing I say when people say has Ange done a good job, I think he's done amazing. And by that, and there's a reason for that, is the front three should be in the championship. I said this to you the other day, still. That front three should be in the championship. We're fifth in the best and the hardest league in the world, and he hasn't done an amazing job. We've had loads of injuries. I just think I'll judge, and like I said again the other day, I can't wait to be Ange out or a manager out, because that means that Levy's back to manager to the point where I can say, you know what, you've been given X, Y, and Z. You've now underperformed. I'm Ange out. And that is when I'll be a manager out. Until then, how can I keep blaming managers? People did the same with Jose. Jose said he wanted Bastoni. Okay, we'll give you Joe Rodon. Right, all right, Jose out. Come on, man. It's just madness. It's madness.
On that note, I have to end the stream because I got to go to work. But big up to those who have chatted on the chat. Big up to Seven. I hope I'm saying right. Seven SC, who's been a member for 8 months. Guys, once again, this is the pitch. We started out talking about Chelsea and how ridiculous the pouch out people are. Working on getting a Chelsea supporter for a show next week about why are they still harping pouch out. Some of the major Chelsea content creators, And then we're also going to talk about, was Jose Mourinho right about Spurs and United? I'm going to get a United person in. The type of content you're going to see on the pitch is football talk, Premier League, European, global. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about Malaysian League too, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about the M League.
Malaysian Super League.
We talked about VAR. Should it be scrapped? Will it be scrapped? Don't think will be scrapped. They've been more right. As bad as some of the calls have been this year, they've been more right than wrong, and so they're gonna probably keep it. But next week we will go to normal rotation. Monday we will do a review of the morning pitch. And James, thank you for coming on. James, if you could leave your information in private chat, because I will definitely love to get your impact.
Get it off sale, yeah. Get it off sale.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Big up. We'll definitely love to get you on the shows. And thank you, Eugene. Your time is it afternoon?
7:30 p.m. now.
Oh, okay. Oh, evening. And big up to Stell for jumping on. And a big up to Dan. Please subscribe and like to the Hotspur Hood. Big up to Dan for coming on. Thank you, guys. This is the first pitch. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on your morning drive, your morning coffee, or your morning work. We will be on. On that note, don't really have a song to end out, but I will end out with this. The pitch in, subscribe, and like. And for me, because I'm a Spurs fan, I'm going to say Levy out.
Yep, Levy out.
Leave it out.
100%.